YouTuber Spotlight, YouTuber Spotlight, YouTuber Spotlight, oh yeah!
Hello guys and welcome back to YouTuber Spotlight, and today we'll be talking to My Name Is Not Lilly. I told you all that we were having a big surprise coming up. So, I'm very happy to get the opportunity to do this with Todd. For any of you that are not familiar with what Todd does, let me explain it to you. The channel is not sort of typical Let's Play channel in the sense that he does play games and Let's Plays them, but every single game revolves around one character, and that is this lovely lady here, Lily Black, although she's not so lovely. And she's not quite a lady, although from all reports she certainly believes it herself. Everything that Todd does is about the character Lily Black. She's a lawful evil character, although her behaviour is a little bit more neutral evil, if I'm being honest. I've watched a lot of Todd's stuff, and in fact the last few months I've been catching up on his Baldur's Gate 2. I've nearly finished that completely, so then I think I've watched everything now. That's a lot of stuff. However, Todd is a very talented Let's Player indeed, exceptionally so. And if I were to recommend anything to you of his stuff, it would probably be his most latest stuff, his Neverwinter Nights Let's Play. If you like Let's Plays and you love role-playing games, you will absolutely fall in love with his Neverwinter Nights Let's Play, because it is probably the best, not only Neverwinter Nights Let's Play, but I think RPG style Let's Play just by a country mile. Goodness, it is really good. That's my recommendation to you. You should check the channel out. The link's in the annotation above. If your annotations are turned off, make sure that you turn them on, or search for the link in the description bar. Anyway, let's move on now. Hello Todd, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us and be involved with the YouTuber Spotlight. I'm personally very grateful for that.
Hey Sam, I gotta say up front, just thank you for even considering me for this YouTuber Spotlight that you've been doing. I gotta say, I'm always a little humbled when anybody shows an interest in, I don't know, the few things I might ramble about. Hopefully this won't be too boring for you or anybody else who might be listening.
Not at all, mate. You're super modest. Too modest, in fact. Let's get into it, I suppose. So, want to ask how you're doing generally? I hope life's treating you well.
Thanks. Actually, things are going really well. Well, considering. Some things are going really well, and other things are just in a complete unknown state, I guess, as I'm going through a lot of changes right now. I think a while back I had mentioned I'd met a wonderful woman, Annabelle, in Brooklyn. Of course, we're still together. In fact, even now we're engaged.
Wow, that's amazing news. Congratulations.
Thanks, Sam. I couldn't ask for more in a woman than what I found in Annabelle. Certainly didn't want to let her go. So we don't really have a date set, but that part of my life, of course, is going great. I couldn't ask for more. I guess the uncertain parts of my life have to do with, well, some important things. And the problem has to do with instability. Having a regular and secure income and a permanent residence. I know a while back also I'd mentioned I had some business ideas. I think I'm going to have to put those riskier ideas on a back burner and concentrate on some just stability, which is more or less a normal job for right now, which actually I'm applying for jobs at various video game companies. Unfortunately, they don't do a lot of development here in New York. Most of it happens in California, Washington, I guess down by the DC area. So I'm going to see. If I can't get a job, I guess, at a video game company, maybe I can just get some programming job and then try to jump a little bit later. But that's kind of what I'm working on. Also, permanent residence, currently on Long Island, trying to get, I guess, looking for an apartment in Brooklyn. Hopefully that'll happen in the spring. Then once things return more or less to normal, then I'm hoping I can come back to YouTube at that point. Very anxious to do so. I certainly miss that entire process of generating that narrative is primarily what I miss. But I'm not going to get into that. But things in general are going very well. It's just they're still in big unknown right now.
All right. I mean, it's good to hear this. Things are going well for you, and hopefully everything will settle down and work out great, and particularly with your job. I've got a handful of questions now that I'd like to ask you. They're just sort of icebreakers. So I think the first one I want to ask you is, if someone wrote a biography about you, what do you think the title should be?
A biography about me? I think Lilly's tagline for the channel was fumbling through Run and beyond, with a question mark. So of course I adopted for my personal life fumbling through life and beyond, with a question mark. So I think that would probably be appropriate for a biography, because I continually make mistakes. Even now, I'm going to be 40 this year. Every time I set out to do something, of course, I make a dozen or more mistakes. But that's really what life is about. And it's not so much about doing everything right. It's more about the process, what you're learning, and life's experiences, good or bad. That would probably be the title I would pick. Fumbling through life and beyond, with a question mark.
Oh man, before I even asked the questions, I thought, I wonder if he's going to say it, and he did. Alright, the second question of the 3 icebreakers that I want to ask you is, if you had a magical snail that could grant wishes, what would you name it?
That's something awfully spectacular, isn't it? If a snail can grant wishes, maybe it should just have a very common name. Or maybe that's too cliche. If we're just to call him Ed, for example. Of course, I like alliteration. Maybe, well, how about in honor of the interviewer, Sammy the Snail?
My Sammy the Snail. Alliteration. You are quite keen on the alliteration, though, I noticed, particularly with Neverwinter Nights, let's play that you do, with Bard and Bones and Black, the rusty raconteur. Yeah, love that. Anyway, let's move on. The last of the 3 is actually not that particularly weird. Alright, so today is the last day on Earth. So how will you spend it?
Wow. Last day on Earth? How would I spend it? Well, of course I'd spend it with my fiancée. I'm not going to go into the details of how we'd spend that day, but I think there would be no doubt that's how I'd want to spend it. Then I'm probably somewhere in a nice natural setting that just kind of reminds you about how small and how insignificant human life is. Maybe on the shore of the beach, at the ocean, or something like that. Top of a mountain. Somewhere where, even if we know that the end of the earth is coming, that, well, we should have expected it maybe anyway. Or we won't be missed.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's a very realistic approach to the whole thing. It's very lovely as well. Spend the last few hours of life with family. Let's move on, though. Let's progress our discussion and talk about your channel. I suppose the first thing that I want to ask you about your channel is, do you feel that you will achieve the goals that you set out to do when you first started the channel?
Yeah, I gotta say, I never would have anticipated that I would have taken a break like I did. In fact, I resisted that heavily. I think Grimmeth can attest to that. I think I had communicated with him. I had some issues about it. He even recommended I did to take a break back then, and I didn't. And then it kind of forced itself to happen anyway. So I certainly want to achieve the goals, which is to finish her narrative to the end. And I've outlined that from the very beginning. I still feel no less motivated to do so. Of course, I need to finish Neverwinter Nights, and then the sequel, and then Dragon Age. And of course, during or after I had set out that goal, they had released Dragon Age 2. Of course, I've heard very controversial things about whether that game is any good or not. I'd probably at least like to look at it. Plus, there's other things that I wanted to intersperse in there. Neverwinter Nights modules and some other things. And plus, I mean, it's come up, people have asked, well, what about Icewind Dale? But these are some epic games, and I'm just not sure that I can fit them into the scope of the original channel in a timely fashion, because already this is started in 2010 or in 2012. So I certainly am going to hold myself to at least finish that original goal, which is to get to Dragon Age. And I guess, well, technically, I think for game hours, probably about halfway or more there. The thing is, the production changed dramatically. It went to kind of a mix of narrative and live commentary, and it just was taking a lot more time than it used to. So even though the game hours, probably most of that is done with Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, for example, I think the production time would be as much, if not more, than everything I've put into the channel already. That's a little daunting, but you know, I still would like to get back to that, and I do believe I will eventually get there. It just may take a while.
At the very beginning, when you first started, or before you first started to Let's Play, what was it that inspired you to get going with the Let's Playing?
Yeah, I think the idea for making Let's Plays, of course, well, I mean, the very first Let's Play I saw, I think I've talked about this maybe somewhere else, is Variax's interactive Morrowind Let's Play, and that was back in early of 2010, if not the end of the year before. That was the very first Let's Play I saw, and of course I just kind of got wrapped up and watched, I don't know how many videos I watched, but watched a lot of Variax, Gix, of course, Jeff Major, and then soon thereafter DAP642. And I've always cited them as, well, really not only helping me along, but inspiring me. So, of course, my two fathers, Variax and Jeff, 1F Jeff, and older brother Dap, and Uncle Gix. That used to be my nicknames for them, because how important I felt they were in, I guess, helping me to get started, whether that was just through motivation, inspiration, or actual help itself. Of course, they've all been immensely helpful to me. So if I can, I'd like to thank them again.
So what YouTubers do you get on the best with?
I don't know, that's a funny question about getting on the best with. I'm actually not a very social person. Despite my age, I'm still quite shy. So I don't really like converse, even through email or whatnot, with other YouTubers. And especially now that I'm on hiatus, I haven't really been talking with anybody, I guess to my own shame. Of course, I've been active or trying to at least secure my identity on the Voltron Army forums. That's been one venue where I do connect with other people in the YouTube community. Has mainly been through those forums, but that has not been for a while. I'm glad to say, though, that they're still afloat. I think they had some problems. The domain was down for a little bit, or at least the forums were, but I think they're back on board. It's hard to say getting on the best with. Of course, I've always gotten good advice from Grimmeth, so I could say that. He's always lent me an ear, and I've always appreciated that. I've always gone to him for advice at random spots, and he's always been kind enough to give me a thoughtful and sincere response. So I have to thank him for that as well.
Okay, and I don't think that you should beat yourself up too much about the hiatus and lack of communication. I think pretty much everybody understands that YouTube's more of a hobby for most people, and real life always takes precedent. And even in your last video, it was girlfriend's YouTube. What's YouTube? So I don't think anybody really is too upset about that. Anyway, what's the nicest thing that someone's ever said to you about your videos?
The nicest thing? Well, I'm not sure I'm going to remember a specific comment, but I can tell you the type of comment that I appreciate the most. And that's when people question, for example, with Lilly's character, her motivation or reasoning or logic, and they actually speak about her, reference her as if she were her own person. That's always very flattering, because instead of people saying, well, why did you do this, or why did you do that, they ask questions about Lilly's character. Well, why would she have done this if X, Y, and Z were the case from her past? Or those more, I guess, questions like actually keeping me in line, keeping her in character and whatnot. I think those are the questions, or comments, I should say, that I appreciate the most. The people that accept her as a character unto her own, and have kind of bought into the whole, story more or less, and differentiate between her character and, I guess, me as a YouTuber or gamer, I guess.
All right. Yeah, I can appreciate that. So I want to ask you a question I think an awful lot of people would like to know the answer to. And I'm just going to go out and say it. When do you think you'll be uploading next?
Yeah, uploading. I think, again, to be completely honest, I'm going to have to find some stability and to be reasonable with my expectations. That will probably be next year. Again, I'm looking for work, trying to move into Brooklyn. Between that, I mean, those are two things that are just going to take an immense amount of time to coordinate and secure. Just looking for an apartment in itself can be a daunting task, at least one that's affordable. And in the midst of that, selling all the things in the place that we're living now, including my car. So it's just, there's a lot of things going on. So I'm hoping to find or settle into, I guess, more or less a routine in a new apartment with a new job where I'm not doing all these things on the side by early next year, spring. So that's really what I'm hoping for, is spring, summer of next year, that I'll be able to get back to YouTube proper and really start, well, continue with the Let's Play videos. That's really what I'm hoping for. And I think that's reasonable and realistic.
The last little thing that I want to mention with regards to your channel is your subscriber count. Well, I've noticed that the last time that I checked that you've gone above the 5,000 subscriber mark. How do you feel about the amount of support that your channel's got and even continues to get, even in the light of your, how should we put it, reduced output?
Yeah, I know. 5,000 subscribers. I was a bit surprised. I mean, of course, I don't put too much weight in numbers. It does make me feel guilty that people are subscribing as I'm on hiatus. I'm not sure if they understand that I'm not quite making videos right now. I don't know that they're really subscribing in the hopes of catching something months down the road. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Of course, I mean, the show of support that number represents, of course, means a lot to me. Never imagined so many people would be even remotely interested. I don't know that they all even know that they are subscribed to me. YouTube is kind of funny in that way that subscriptions, you're never quite sure where they come from. Some people, it's obvious they're subscribing directly to your channel. Some people click by mistake. Some people, I think, sometimes pick up channels through, I guess, recommended subscription lists, and they're not even sure, or they might not even be aware that they're subscribed to you. So I don't put too much weight, again, in those numbers, but the support I've gotten, and of course that's been through comments, people being patient while I'm away and showing appreciation for the work that I've done to date. Can't thank them enough for that, because of course that motivates me to want to come back as soon as possible, as opposed to, you know, if people were negative about the work I've done to date and didn't want me to come back. Of course that would be a little bit more difficult. Very happy with the support that people have given me, and again, can't thank them enough.
As humble and honest as ever, Todd. You should feel proud of the modesty that you've got. I think probably is one of the most modest people I've ever spoken to. Goodness me. That's enough about your channel specifically. I want to talk to you about the future. So what plans do you have for your life?
Yeah, plans for my life. Well, actually, I kind of touched on that a little bit. Of course, I'm a programmer by trade. I have a bachelor's of science in computer science. I did that for 10 or more years for a small consulting firm. I mean, that's the type of work I'm looking for now. I've realized that video games have been a part of my life, and I probably should have been trying to get work within the video game industry, I think, 10, 15 years ago. Why I didn't, I think, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I think I wanted to play it safe, so I wasn't quite sure what type of programming I wanted to do. But I think it's obvious enough to me now that that's something I want to be involved with. So, of course, I applied to Obsidian just for a normal programming position. I don't think that's going to go through. That's out in California. There was a few companies out here in New York. One of the few that does development actually in the city is Rockstar Games. I think it's very competitive, because when I went to school, there was no such thing as a track to be, for example, get into game design. Now you can actually go to school. I think you can major in something like that. I don't think that existed when I was in school. So, not that that matters, but again, I think it's a very competitive field for video games, because of course a lot of people want to, well, I should say a lot of younger people who do play games Would love to do that kind of work. So I'm not really sure. So the only thing I can bring is, of course, to the table is experience and a little bit of a different perspective, having seen a little bit of the history of video games firsthand. We'll see. If that doesn't work, then of course I'm just going to get any kind of programming work, I think, for now. For New York, that typically means, well, either in the finance industry or, well, marketing. I'm going to have to see. Hopefully I'll get something. I'm confident I will. And then nothing's forever. So that's really the idea. And then an apartment, so I can get rid of this car. That's my plans for life. And of course, I'm engaged to Annabelle. We don't have a date set, but once we get a little bit more stability in our life, of course, well, love to get married and start a family as well.
For my work, I do programming as well. I want to do games as well. I want to make my own. I've been working on some for Android. At the moment, game making is on the side anyway. It's more of an experiment to see if it'll make money rather than anything else. Anyway, that's it's by the by. But all the best with the plans for your future and the happiness for your life as well. I suppose, I mean, it's a little bit of a come down from grand plans for life. In regards to your channel, what plans do you have for the future of that?
Yeah, future of the channel, well, there should be really no surprises there. I think, again, I had the plan laid out from the very beginning, those series of games. Of course, in the middle of Neverwinter Nights right now. And that's going to continue once I get back to it to finish that, and then Neverwinter Nights 2, Dragon Age, possibly Dragon Age 2. Again, there's some controversy about how good of a game it really is. And of course, continuing the Fallout blind. I'd like to do that as well. It doesn't take as much time as it's a blind Let's Play, and there's no narrative that I'm writing for that. So, future of the channel, it really hasn't changed, just on pause right now, unfortunately.
Okay. Let's talk about... Actually, I don't always talk about negative and bad things with people. I usually ask people if they ever felt like giving up or stopping, and I know from your case it's not the case. So I think I'll only ask one particular question with this, and that is, what's the meanest thing that someone's ever said to you about your videos?
The meanest thing? Well, yeah, I don't know. Typically, again, I can't single out one particular comment. And I'm not sure it's the meanest thing. I mean, people could say some pretty bad things, and they haven't. Luckily. I think the worst that I've really gotten has been what I would have expected, which is references to, well, questioning my sexuality because Lilly's character is female. That comes up a lot. So people just assume that, transgender or gay, or, they think I'm some kind of sexual deviant. That comes up a lot. Of course, they don't say it in such terms. And I guess also, well, playing video games and recording them, now people are discovering the videos, and I'm not sure that they even know what a Let's Play is, so they think, so it's that whole, like, lonely guy, he's probably living at home in the basement at his mother's, You get a lot of those comments also, like, get a life type of thing. But how mean are those? It's just immature. I don't really know how mean it is. So I'm sorry I can't really pick out a comment in particular. I actually keep a log of trolls and their comments on my blog, because I think people should be, if they're going to say something, they shouldn't be embarrassed to have it associated with them. So, even if it's a trollish comment. So it's just kind of making them accountable for what they say. And typically I don't think they'd care, but somebody might.
Yeah, I've read the role of trolls before. I'm surprised about the response that you got for playing a female character in RPG, and I know that all of the characters that I've played for my own Let's Plays are male. However, when I do play myself, particularly games like Neverwinter Nights, etc., they are generally female, but it's odd that people would give that reaction, particularly when you have the choice to pick. If it's not like the character is meant to represent you either. I never understood that mentality, to be honest. But you're right, it is just immaturity. Never mind. Let's move on. In fact, actually, no. Well, it is moving on still, but it's asking game. We're going to play a game. So let's play Would You Rather. As always, I'll give the proviso that all of these questions have an understated philosophical nature. Anyway, question number 1 is: would you rather overthrow a dictatorship or lead one?
Yeah, actually, that's probably not too difficult of a question. I don't think I'd ever want to lead a dictatorship. It's not even my personality. So, but I'm not quite the hero either to overthrow one. But if I had a choice, yeah, I think it would be to overthrow a dictatorship.
Okay, would you rather have a beautiful house and an ugly car, or an ugly house and a beautiful car?
All right, this one's easy because I am not like one of these car guys. In fact, I'm trying to sell my car. I want to live in a pedestrian environment. I want to walk to go food shopping. So I would much rather have, I guess, a beautiful home and an ugly car, because I doubt I'd be driving my car very much.
Yeah, I can identify with that, actually. I'm probably not one of these car guys. Well, I'm not one of these car guys either. Okay, number 3. Would you rather be forgotten completely by everyone or hatefully remembered?
Wow. Well, yeah. I have to admit, I don't take criticism very well. Or I shouldn't say that. I'm learning to, but I still am very sensitive. So I don't think I'd want to be hatefully remembered. I think I'd rather just be forgotten, to be honest. I think I'd be actually very happy with that.
All right. And would you rather give bad advice or take bad advice?
Boy, this is kind of a tough one. I think of course, nobody, I think, ever really wants to give bad advice. But of course, who wants to follow bad advice either? And whose fault is it, right? Because advice is just that. You're giving somebody a suggestion. They don't have to follow it. So, you know what? I think I'd rather give bad advice and just hope they don't follow it. See it for what it is, which is just bad advice, than to blindly follow somebody else's bad advice. That would be my answer, I think. I'd just rather give bad advice, hope they don't follow it, and go on.
Okay, last but not least, would you rather forget your sunscreen or your sunglasses?
Yeah, this actually I don't have to think very hard about either. I used to never wear sunscreen. I'm probably going to pay for it later in life when I go to the dermatologist. Now I'm starting to get concerned. Of course, the risk of melanoma and skin cancers. But so I think even now I'd rather forget my sunscreen than sunglasses because, I couldn't really tell you why. I mean, I wear glasses now, prescription eyeglasses. I would never forget my sunglasses, as they just simply clip onto those anyway. Yeah, so I think I'd just rather forget the sunscreen, but be able to see, versus being protected and blind.
Todd, man. Melanoma it is then. Never mind. Okay. And, that pretty much actually is the end of our interview with you. It's been a fun and great time, so thank you very much for that. It's been great to speak to you. I'm pretty sure that everybody else who listens to this will agree with me, so thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Sam. And again, I want to thank you for even thinking that what I might have to say might be remotely interesting. Hope I didn't bore you or anybody else who might be listening too much. This was fun. And thanks again. All right, bye.
And there we go, guys. That was My Name Is Not Lilly, aka Todd. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode of YouTuber Spotlight. I certainly did. I've been hoping to speak to Todd for a little while, and a big thanks again to you, Todd. As always, I recommend to you the people that I speak to, but you really should check out Todd's stuff on My Name Is Not Lilly's channel. Like I said, if you're not familiar with his stuff, his best series, I would say, is the Neverwinter Nights Let's Play that he's on with. He's in the middle of doing it at the moment. We don't know when the next video of that will come. However, there's plenty of it, like 40 hours of it still for you to look at. Anyway, that's enough of that. So check him out, subscribe to him. I'm sure he would appreciate the support. When we come back though, guys, we got another YouTuber for us to chat with. Oh yes. But that'll be for then, okay? So until then, guys, stay safe, take care of yourself. Goodbye.